The reason it's called Passover, of course, is because when we're sitting around the Seder table and we ask all these questions and we read all the things that it says that we're sitting for a real long time, we're starving, and we say, could you pass over some matzah already? I'm starving!
Yes, that's exactly why it's called Passover.
That's exactly why it's not Passover. Well, I'm going to tell you guys why it's called Passover and why we eat matzah, okay? Just give me 1 second. I got to get something over here. Hold on.
What quarter do you want? First one or the second one? Hey, yeah, you did. Oh, wow.
Okay. This is the story of why we eat matzah on Passover. If I make a mistake, and sometimes I do with this hat on, you guys got to correct me, okay? This is the story of Passover and why we eat matzah, because thousands of years ago in the land of China, there lived a wicked king. His name was Ahmadinejad. And Pharaoh? Well, in Hebrew it's Pharaoh, in English it's Pharaoh. Correct. He was very, very mean to the Ukrainian people in his country. Okay. Jewish people. Do you guys know any Jewish people? You are? Wow. Okay, so you guys are all Jewish, pretty much, right? Okay, so that means, wait a second. That means that it was your bubbies and zadies, or your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, right? From a really long time ago. It was our families. So Pharaoh was very mean to the Jews. What did he do to them? He turned them into what? Now, obviously the Jewish people didn't like it there. They used to cry a lot. And that's why during the Seder, what do we use to remember all those tears? Does anyone know? Very good. The salt water. We dip the vegetable in the salt water to remember all those tears. How long were they slaves for? 300, well, it felt like 300,000. It was actually 210 years they were slaves. And that's a pretty long time, right? A very long time. So wait a second. What did the Jewish people do? They cried, right? Who did they cry to? Their mommies, their daddies, their psychiatrists, and who else? Who else? God. That's what Jews do in general. They cry to God. Wait a second. So it took God a while till he answered their prayers, because God felt that for whatever reason that the Jews had to be there for a while. But finally, he decided to listen to their prayers and answer them. So, God picked up the telephone and he called Mr. President Bush. No! I'm sorry, Barack Obama. No! Wait a second. Hold on. Wait 1 second. Shh. Oh, you didn't have a phone? Email? Wait a second. Hold on, guys. Guys, I remember clearly. I remember reading something about Bush. A burning bush. There was a burning bush. Okay, so Moses was in the desert. And he sees this bush on fire. It was actually at a special place. Does anyone know what that special place was called? In the desert? Very special place. Close. It was a mountain. Anyone know what kind of mountain it was? Who said that? Very good. Mount Sinai. It was on Mount Sinai. Moses goes over to the bush and God speaks to him and says, Moses, you are going to be the leader of the Jewish people. I'm choosing you. You know why? Because I see how much you care about everything. About everyone and everything. Because Moses was, you know what he did for a living? What did he do?
Shepherd.
Was he a construction worker? Does anyone know what he was?
Shepherd.
Very good. He was a shepherd. And once what happened was, he lost a little sheep. It wandered off. And he went looking for that sheep. Miles and miles away, he found it. He picks it up and carries it all the way back. And when God God saw how much he cares even about a little sheep. He says, wow, this is a special man. He can be a leader because he cares about every single one. He says, why me? But he listened to God, and he went to Egypt. He went to Pharaoh's palace, and he said, God said, what God are you talking about? You know, the God of the heavens and the earth. What? God over here is not in the heavens and the earth. God over here, you're looking at him. Pharaoh's God. The Nile River is God. The sheep and the other animals are God. We don't believe in your God, Moses. And Moses warned him and said, God said you better let the Jews go. You will be punished. You are hurting them. You are torturing them. You've done this for so long. You better let them go. And Pharaoh, of course, he listened or not? No. Right? You know that song? What's it? You know that song, guys? Let me ask you a question. No, I will. Is that what Pharaoh sang every time when Moses came to the palace? Pharaoh pulled out his microphone and started singing. No. Is that what he did? I think he shouted it. He shouted it. His brother said, no, I'm not letting you go. He didn't sing it. We sing it, but he didn't. He was a mean guy. Meanie head, right? Anyway, so the first plague came because Pharaoh did not listen. What was the first plague? Does anyone know? You know. Yes. Blood. All the water in Egypt turned to blood. You know what that means? That all the fish in the river, what happened to them? They died. Did you ever smell rotten fish before? Yeah. Did you ever go to a fish market? No. Fish market is really smelly, and that's fresh fish. Imagine a fish market full of rotten fish. Okay? That would be really, really bad. The Egyptians didn't like it, but was Pharaoh scared enough to let the Jews go? No. He was a very stubborn man. So the second plague came. What was the second plague? Frogs. What's so bad about frogs? Did you ever hold one before? They were everywhere. So Pharaoh woke up in the morning, there were frogs on his head, on his bed, on his toes, on his nose, in his pajamas, in his socks, in his pillow, everywhere. So he ran out of his bedroom. Where did he run into? He ran into the bathroom, right? He ran into the bathroom, and he locked the door. But then he looked around. He saw there were frogs in the sink, frogs in the toilet, frogs in the bathtub. He got really scared, so he ran to the kitchen. And in the kitchen, he didn't see any frogs, right? So what happened was, he sat down by the table. He got thirsty. He didn't have his breakfast yet. He wanted to drink his coffee, and he was looking for his mug. He couldn't find his coffee mug. He looked all around, checked the cupboards, couldn't find. Then he saw a bowl on the counter. Ah! And there was a frog there too. We're going to skip the rest of the plagues. The last plague changed everything. By the last plague, Pharaoh got so scared. So scared. What was the last plague? You in the back of it.
Death of the firstborn.
Death of the firstborn. In middle of the night, Pharaoh snoring in his bed. And all of a sudden he jumps up, so scared. He's shaking. He can't even stand properly on his feet. He's shaking. He was so scared. You know why? Why was he so scared? Because in every single home in Egypt, God had come to Egypt. He passed over the Jewish homes, and he went to the Egyptian homes, and all the firstborn, the oldest in each Egyptian home, passed away. And there was screaming. He passed over them. He didn't do anything to the Jewish homes. And in all the Egyptian homes, someone had been dying. In the middle of the night, this happened at the same time. And Pharaoh heard this screaming from all over Egypt. And he got so scared. Why was he so scared? What was he so scared of? He himself was a firstborn. So you know what he did? He ran out into the street. He forgot to get dressed. Could you imagine a king? Imagine a president. Imagine President Obama running down the street in his bathing suit, screaming. Could you imagine that? Well, that's what Pharaoh did. Pharaoh ran into the street in his pajamas and he's screaming, Moses! Where are you? He's shaking. He's He's screaming. He doesn't know where Moses is. So he comes to some Jewish kids and he says, where can I find Moses? Where can I find? And they look at, Pharaoh? Is that you? In your pajamas? What are you doing? Screaming in the streets? He says, don't make fun of me. I gotta find Moses. I'm so scared. Where does he live? They said, oh, you want to find Moses? I'll show you how to get to his house. Just go that way. And it took him a little while, but finally, he found Moses' house. He comes to the door. Moses, open up quickly. I'm scared. Moses comes to the door, looks through the people. Pharaoh, you came to my house in the middle of the night in your pajamas? What's with you? He says, Moses, I'm so scared. I'm a firstborn. I don't want to die like everybody else. What should I do? Pharaoh says, I'm sorry, Moses says to Pharaoh, you know what you're supposed to do. We had this discussion, I think, a few times already, right?
Hey, how are you?
You know what, Moses? You're right. You're right, Moses. You know what? Get out of here now! Now!